Hi friends, Krista here. Thanks for stopping by Books and Jams. I'm really excited to kick off month 2 of my Read Like a BookTube Friend project. This month in my February TBR, I spun the spinner in the wheel, chose Keisha from A Book Like You. And I'm really excited to read like Keisha this month. I immediately thought of spooky middle grade, but I know that that's not all Keisha reads. And so I reached out to Keisha on Voxer and let her know that I chose her and wanted to get the conversation going about what books I should read that would be like her. And immediately I realized I'm not going to have a lot on my shelves that's like Keisha. She definitely reads a lot more thrillers and just authors that I don't read a lot of. And so I did end up coming up with 3 books. We came up with them together. She gave me a ton of recommendations, which was great. And they're not all spooky middle grade. And only one of them is actually on my shelves. Last month when I worked with Chloe, I made the decision to try as much as possible to read books from my shelves that are be like these people, but for some of my friends, that's just not going to be possible. So I have 2 books coming from the library, and I did choose one from my shelves, and only one of them is a spooky middle grade. The reason I wanted to get this vlog started now, though, is because I'm at work, it's nap time, I have a chance to start an audiobook, and I just wanted to get this started filming because one of the audiobooks I have available on Scribd is one of the 3 books I'm going to read like Keisha. So the 3 books are, drum roll please, I'm going to read Small Spaces by Katherine Arden. This is a spooky middle grade. It's actually a 4-book series, and I put all 4 on hold at the library. We'll see how quickly I read through the first one. Maybe I'll do more than 3 books in this vlog. Maybe I'll do the whole series. I don't know. She said she particularly likes books 1, 3, and 4, I think, or 1, 2, and 4. I know 1 and 4 are her favorites, and then I can't remember if it's 2 or 3, but I could let you know that. But I'm definitely reading Small Spaces. The other book I got from the library is a Sally Hepworth book, and she said The Good Sister is her favorite. So I do have The Good Sister already checked out. It's already come in, so it's at home. And so I will be reading The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. That is a recent, I think even within the last year, maybe, a new favorite author for Keisha. She's read a couple of her books and really loves them. They're not exactly thrillers. They're more like family drama, contemporary, but there's an intensity and a level of suspense in the story. So I'm just really looking forward to reading a Sally Hepworth book. I think I read a Sally Hepworth a long time ago. Midwives? Does she have something about midwives? I don't remember. I'll have to look it up. But it was like before my BookTube days. I think I read a Sally Hepworth book, and I did really like it, but that's a long time ago. So I'm excited to try a Sally Hepworth book. And then the book that is on my shelves is Jennifer McMahon. These are thrillery, and I'm a little nervous it's going to be scary. But of the 2 that I own, she said Children on the Hill is more up my alley. She thinks I'm going to really like it. Even though it's not my normal go-to, it was on my shelves. We chose it together. So I have The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth, Small Spaces series by Katherine Arden, and Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. And Children on the Hill I actually have available on Scribd right now. So I'm going to start listening to it now. I'm going to kick the month off. It's February 1st right now. Kick the month off reading a thriller. Who am I? Okay, let's see if reading like Keisha this month goes as well as reading like Chloe did last month. We'll see. Hello. I have finished my first Read Like Keisha book. I have all of them here, and I just wanted to show them to you because I know in my intro clip I didn't really show them to you. So the first is Small Spaces by Katherine Arden. I did get the first 3 so far from the library. I don't know if I'll read all 3 in this vlog or if I'll just read the first one. Then I also got from the library The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. Really looking forward to that one. And then the one that I've read already is The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. This was actually on my shelves. Who knew? I went into this thinking it was going to be very thrillery and scary, and it wasn't. Not at all. I never felt uncomfortable reading this at nighttime. We follow a couple different perspectives, but there's also a couple different timelines of things happening. There's also 2 different books, sort of, that get read from. One of the perspectives is Violet. She's a young 13-year-old girl. She and her brother live with their grandma. Their grandmother is a psychiatrist, therapist at a treatment center for insane people, really, Helen Hildreth. And she's very good at what she does. Occasionally, Grandma brings home people to stay with them in their home. And at one point, she brings a young girl named Iris and says, treat her like a sister. She's going to be part of the family. And Violet, and then her brother and Iris, because of Violet, she's kind of obsessed with the idea of monsters. They create a book about monsters, which is one of the books that we get read to from, or that is included in here. She's obsessed with monsters. She sees monsters everywhere. She talks a lot about the monsters that are inside of us. She's just really, really obsessed with monsters. And I, at first, was like, what are we getting into? What kind of book is this? I don't really read monster books. There's a lot of inspiration taken from Frankenstein, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein in this novel. It gets referred to quite a bit. But Vi and her siblings start to get suspicious of things that are actually going on up at the hill or in this treatment center. Iris doesn't remember anything about who she is or where she came from, and Violet is determined to help her discover who she really is. And she learns some things along the way that are devastating to her, especially about the people in her life. And and it just kind of goes from there. Then we follow in like 20 years later, 1978 to 2019. So like 40 years later almost, we follow Lizzie, who is a monster hunter. She has a podcast. She has had a show. She travels around the United States looking for monsters. So, you know, those kind of tall tales legends that you hear about swamp monsters and Bigfoot and other creatures that kind of are tales of legends. So she goes around to these different places and tries to learn about the legends and the monsters, and are they real? She's a monster hunter. However, at one point, girls start to go missing, and Lizzie starts to follow these cases even more closely. And is it all tied back to things that happened in the 1978 timeline? Probably, right? I listened to this on audio and I did really enjoy it. It's not my normal type of read by any means, not at all. Would I read more Jennifer McMahon? Probably, if they're more like this. Although I have heard that this is a little bit different from the rest of her books. It's definitely not my normal go-to type of read. And also, there was one kind of a big twist, if you will, or plot point that I kind of guessed earlier on. I knew that's where we were headed, or I thought that that's where we were headed, and sure enough, that is where we were headed. And I was kind of bummed out that it didn't surprise me. I wanted to be surprised, and I wasn't surprised. So I was a little bit bummed by that. I didn't dislike reading this. I would probably just give it 3.5 stars. I don't think it's like a 4-star read for me, but I enjoyed it for what it was. I just don't think it's my normal type of a read. But I'm glad for this project to push me out of my comfort zone a little bit. I would have probably never, I mean, it was on my shelves. I think I got it at a library sale or a Little Free Library. I don't even remember. But I did enjoy it. It was fun. It was fun. It was different. Okay. Next, I don't know which one I'm going to pick up next. So stay tuned. Hello. I'm coming back on to say that I've read my second Read Like Keisha book, Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. And oh boy, this had some creepy scenes in it. But I feel like, well, I'll get into that in a minute. The story of this is this girl, Ollie, gets her hands on this book, journal / thing about a farm that takes place about 100 years ago. Ollie, the next day, or very shortly after, has to go on a class trip to a farm. And when she gets there, she discovers or figures out while she's there that the farm in the book that she's reading is the farm that she's visiting with her class. And I don't want to say much more than that, but there were some scenes in here that were incredibly creepy. And yet, it wasn't too much for me. And I think a big part of that is because this is a middle grade. So while it did have some super creepy scenes, I was never afraid to read it at night, or like I didn't have bad dreams. I didn't have bad images in my brain. It was unbelievable enough that I knew it wasn't connected to reality enough to make me think it was something that could happen. But it was kind of fantastical. Like the creepy parts of this were a little bit fantastical, and that combined with the fact that this is middle grade prevented me from being completely terrified. But it did have some creepiness in it, which is not usually my thing, but I did really enjoy it at the same time. I really liked the character of Ollie and the two classmates that end up being friends by the end, and the journey that they had to go on together to kind of rescue the rest of their class, if you will. I don't want to say like any details, but I also really enjoyed Ollie's. Well, you guys know, I always love books that deal with grief in some way. And in this book, Ollie's mom had passed away, and I believe it was a car accident and stuff. And she's really, really, really missing her mom. And that plays a part in this story as well. And she has a great relationship with her dad, and her grief doesn't take away from that relationship, but she has to process a few things throughout the course of the story as well. And I always love that because I think that that's such a universal experience to have to deal with grief in some way. So there are 3 other books in this series. I thought I was going to be able to get to them this month. My reading has slowed down quite a bit this month, and I've just had a lot of things going on outside of book life, and that's okay. Next month is middle grade March. Maybe you will see the next ones on my middle grade March piles, like in my wrap-ups throughout the month, because I do want to continue this series. I'm curious enough. Keisha has raved about it enough, and I did enjoy this one enough to want to continue. And I have them checked out. I have 2 and 3 checked out from the library right now. Even though I did listen to this on audio, I do have the other ones checked out. So I might just go for it. We'll see. But I do have one more, the Sally Hepworth book to still read, like Keisha, and it is currently February 23rd. So I have 5 days, and I have 2 books that I need to read in the next 5 days, one of them being the Sally Hepworth. So thankfully, I don't have very much going on this weekend. I should be able to get some reading time in, and I will let you know what I think about the Sally Hepworth, the 3rd one that I'm going to read, and then I'll talk about all 3, and we'll just talk about this experience of reading a little bit outside of my comfort zone this month. All right, I'll see you in a bit. All right, I have finished my 3rd Read Like Keisha book, which was The Good Sister by Sally Hepworth. And oh boy, did I like this book. I didn't even stop at any point during any of these, actually, to stop and talk to you about what I was reading, because I was captivated by this story and I flew through this book. In this one, we follow 2 sisters, Fern and Rose Castle. We're getting both perspectives, from Rose a little bit and mostly from Fern, but also some journal entries of Rose's. And in the journal entries, we learn about stories of things that happened when they were younger, and in particular, a certain event that happened when they were teenagers. And there was a tragedy that happened, and Fern has kind of always held on to the guilt of that. Fern herself, it's never named in here. She is neurodivergent. I will not try to assume what it is that she has, but she definitely thinks and acts and behaves differently from others. A lot of loud noises and a lot of people all in one place really stress her out. She cannot handle it, and she has these kind of meltdowns. So if she doesn't go into restaurants anymore. She works at a library where it's always nice and quiet, and she's a gem at the library. People really love her there, but she really holds on to this event that happened when they were teenagers and doesn't really trust herself. And Rose is her person. She says at the beginning, she's her medical, like in case of emergency person, but also she goes to eat with Rose a couple times a week. But as the story progresses, you just kind of get this idea that something's a little bit off in this sister relationship, and You don't really fully know what that is. I think Sally Hepworth wove this story together really, really well. I was captivated, even though not a lot was really happening. We're just kind of seeing Fern working at the library and making connections with people and her relationship with Rose. But early on in the book, we learn that Rose cannot have children, and Fern decides to take it upon herself to get pregnant and give Rose the baby. But that decision affects a lot of things as the story goes on. And how is she even going to make that happen? And it just, it was so compelling. It was so compelling. I definitely feel like I would read more Sally Hepworth books for sure. I actually feel like I would read more in this series by Catherine Arden as well. And I'm not even opposed to reading more Jennifer McMahon, which is crazy. I know that Keisha did tell me that this one in particular, The Children on the Hill, is quite different from other Jennifer McMahon books. So if I do read others, I will go into them knowing they might be a little more thrillery than this one. This one was suspenseful and twisty, but not exactly, I was never afraid. This one did have its creepy moments for sure, but because it was middle grade, I was here for it. They were kind of delightfully creepy. I could almost smile, and like it was so far out there and not realistic enough to make me feel scared. But I enjoyed it. I don't usually like that kind of thing, but I did enjoy it in this story. And this one, I guess you would call it domestic suspense. Did I say that already? Because it's mainly about these sisters and their relationship and how things kind of go off the rails by the end of this book. It was good. There were some twists and turns in here that I did not see coming. So was it a success for me to read like Keisha? 100%. I don't think I actually have, I'm so far behind on Goodreads. It has been a month. February was a month. It's March now, thank God. February was rough. So I don't know if I've even put any of these on Goodreads. I need to go back through and check all that. But I would say I probably liked this one the most, and then Small Spaces, and then Children on the Hill. But ultimately, while these felt like they were out of my comfort zone when I was deciding with Keisha what to read, these are not books or authors that I would naturally gravitate towards. But I love that this project helped me to go a little bit out of my comfort zone and realize that I can enjoy other types of things as well. I know with some of the other people coming up later this year, I'm going to have to go even farther out of my comfort zone. But I think this was a good first step out of my comfort zone, because reading like Chloe wasn't really out of my comfort zone. I have a lot of overlap in taste with Chloe. And now I know maybe I have some overlap with Keisha too. So while I do watch most of her videos already, I'm going to be paying a little bit better attention and seeing if maybe I might pick up some more books that she recommends. So I'm so excited that I loved these. I would love to hear from you. Did you think I was going to like any of these? Were you surprised that I liked them? What do you think about any of these books if you've read them? Let's chat in the comments down below. You guys know I love talking with you down there so much. And I'm so excited that in March, I will be reading like Amanda. Not at all out of my comfort zone. And I'm choosing all middle grade books because of course I am. So stay tuned for a Read Like Amanda project for March. And this wraps up my February. Sorry, this is a little bit late. Hopefully next month I will get it out on time. It's just the way things have been. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here so much. And I look forward to talking with you in another video very soon. Bye.